In today's environment, it's more and more important for craft brewery leaders to really understand their brewery profitability and then know how to take smart actions to improve it. But as I'm meeting more and more brewery leaders, I'm finding that oftentimes I have a hard time doing this. And this is for a number of reasons. One is because the financial data they get is often so dry, right? It's in maybe a big Excel table. They don't know how to get those insights they need and do the comparisons that really help drive action. Number two, because the process is so manual for them, maybe they'll do it once, but it's not sustainable and they won't do it again. These are the types of things you need to look at all the time. So a real manual process is going to be difficult. And then third, even if they are able to get to those insights, again, because the data is so dry, it's hard for them to communicate out to their team. And really, we need to get our team engaged in this data so they're able to help drive these actions. So what I want to do is show you a new offer that we have, which really helps you visualize all of your profit and loss information so you're able to take those smart actions. Okay, let's take a look. So I'll just spend a few minutes kind of walking through what this offer entails. Like I mentioned before, I'm really excited about it. I think this is a great way to get these insights in front of people so they can make smart, confident actions. So first of all, this is a basic overview of what you would get. It's 5 pages that are all highly visual, as you can kind of see from the examples, and I'll walk through each of these in a second. This is all built using standard QuickBooks report with basically 24 months of information. So we're able to see good year-over-year comparisons. Doing a lot of different comparisons. We're making things visual. As you'll get into these some more, you'll see it's really easy to understand and pick out the insights that are most critical for your team. And then finally, I think a really valuable solution for this is because I'm pretty experienced at looking at data like this and analytics, is I'll do a 30-minute review with your team. So we'll basically be able to pair my knowledge of numbers and analytics and stuff like that with what your team is seeing. And I think that'll really help drive home the point of some of these and get you on your way to making those smart actions. Okay, so first up, we're going to start with an executive summary. So this is just going to be a quick comparison to last year. You can see we're looking at some trending information on there. What I'm doing then is also helping to pick out some of the highlights that I think are most impactful. So you're able to get those in a verbal form, which I think is helpful for some people that aren't used to diving into analytics all the time. And really what this page is meant to do is, well, I guess provide that high-level communication if you did want to send it out to somebody and they only have like a minute to look at what your highlights are. This would be a great place to start. And then this should also be setting the stage for further analysis as we continue to dive in deeper. So next up, what we're going to start to do now is break down those financial highlights into monthly buckets, and we're now comparing year over year for each month, right? And we're doing this for sales, cost of goods sold, operating expenses, and then finally EBITDA or profit down at the bottom. We're adding color to this one. So in blue, we're able to see where we outperformed last year. And then in kind of that orange color, that's where we did worse than last year. So a great way to quickly, at a glance, kind of look at this information. You're also able to pick up any seasonality. You can see in this case, this brewery is kind of seasonal in the springtime. And then also quickly see how each month performed compared to the same month last year. Okay, we're going to continue to break this down. So now we're going to look at some different financial KPIs or kind of different ratios or measures that are widely used across the industry. And we can do some customization of this one if these aren't necessarily the ones that you're concerned about. The ones I'm showing on the screen have a little bit more to do with kind of a tap room that's doing food. If you had other financial KPIs that were critical to you, we could get those in the same format. And then I think one thing that's good on this one is we're not only comparing to previous year performance, but we're comparing it to a target. So this could be like an industry benchmark, or if you have your own targets that you're trying to hit with each of these, we can do those comparisons too. So quick way to see how we're performing for each of these metrics as compared to that target. Now we're really going to start to deep dive some of these categories. So in this case, we're looking at our sales. And as you're kind of looking at the right-hand side of the screen here, you'll see first we're breaking it down by taproom and wholesale. And then we're breaking it down a little bit deeper, in this case, food, beer, and other. This is a food-heavy tap room that we're looking at. And then down at the bottom, we're breaking it down into either lower, even lower levels of detail, right? So that's how we like to set all these up. First, give you kind of that high level overview and then dive deeper and deeper into what's going on in your business. For each of these, we're showing that year over year trend. We can see how we're performing to last year. And then for each of these categories, what percent of your total sales do they make up? And then how is that changing year over year? We can see, like in this example, that wholesale this year, even though it's still a relatively small part of the business, it makes up a much higher percent than it did the previous year. So that's kind of interesting, right? We're going to do a similar comparison now to all of our different expense categories. So again, we're starting at that high level and then breaking it down into those lower levels of detail, showing a lot of that similar information. So trending, and then we're also comparing these to how did that expense relate to our total sales volume for the year. So not only are we just looking at the total expense amount, but how does that equate to if our business is up or down for the year? I think that's another really good comparison that's sometimes hard to get to on your own. Okay, and then finally, we're going to leave you off with kind of this next steps, right? So we're going back through and recapping those main financial performance highlights. So we want to really drive those home so your team knows how everything's going. And then because we can't usually or we can't sometimes get to like that lowest level of detail through your financial statements, you're going to need to start to dive into more detailed information. So this is kind of walking through how you can do some of that and what questions you might ask of your data. And then finally at the bottom, we're leaving you with a link so you can see some best practices about how some other breweries get to this really low level of detail in order to drive those smart actions. Okay, so how do we do this? Real painless process. First, we would set up with just a quick introduction call. We'll talk a little bit about some of your goals, what's most important to your business, so I can kind of know to focus some of my notes on is it more wholesale related? Is it tap room? Is it expenses, cost of goods sold, et cetera? We're going to talk a little bit about the structure of your financial data, and we're going to need to try to get it into the format that I have a lot of these visualizations set up on. It's pretty easy to do, but it's usually easier if we talk through it a little bit together. And then I'll give you more of an overview on what some of those next steps would look like. Next up, you're going to send me your data. I'll share with you simple instructions on how to like run the report we need. It's a standard QuickBooks report. Everybody has access to it. It takes 2 minutes to run. So I'll send you that information and you're going to send that back to me. Then I'm going to analyze your information. I'm going to plug it into these visualizations. I'll find what I think is most insightful to you, and we'll get those included in the reports. And then, like I mentioned, a real beneficial part of this is then we'll review this information together, right? So we'll walk through these results. You'll be able to ask me any questions, and then we can talk through the most meaningful part of this would then be getting into that more transactional level of detail to really be able to get to those targeted insights. And I can start to give you some more ideas on how to do that based on the systems you're using. Okay, so that's basically it. In a matter of days, you'll have access to all these great financial insights. And the cool thing is you don't have to do any of the work. You basically have to run a 2 minute report and send it back to me, right? And then you're going to be ready to take smart, confident actions on all this data and communicate it out to the rest of your team. So as you can probably tell, I'm really excited about this offer. I think it's going to be a great way to get these financial insights in front of people, have them communicated out to their team so they can all be engaged around it, and really help improve some of the profit performance within our industry. So please reach out and let's get started. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.